Okay, and so today we're going to show you how we do some narrowband bicolor processing using pixel math to generate a synthetic green channel. And you can see the variations of depending on what that green channel is made up of, where you go from a more yellow, and then we can go tracing it to a more orange, and then finally to a more kind of red natural nebular color. Um, so let's go ahead and minimize these and let's get started. So I'm going to put these off here to the side. Okay. And just to start off, we have auto stretch versions of our hydrogen alpha data and our O3 data. And if we reset them, there we go. If we reset them, you can see that they are going to be in the unstretched linear form. This auto stretch is just for us to see the actual images and what they can possibly be. Now, they've already been calibrated and aligned, so when you kind of put them over each other, all the stars line up for us. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just minimize them again, and let's go ahead and start making our synthetic green channel. So under process, let's go to all process, and we're going to go to pixel math. Now I have the equations kind of set up here, but I'm going to clear that and start from the get-go. Now what we're going to use is unclick this so that we can use all our channels. We are going to create a new image, and we want this to be an RGB type image at the end. Now to get working with our channels, we're going to go to expression editor. For a red channel, we're going to go click here and look for the image of hydrogen alpha. You can double click there. For blue, we want the O3, and then for the green, we're going to put in an equation. So we are going to say that hydrogen alpha times a factor, let's say we'll start with 0.01 plus the O3 data, and this times the squiggly symbol 0.01 just means the difference between the difference of 0.01 to make 1. So we go ahead and close that parentheses, and that's our equation. And essentially the only thing that's changing is this factor that is being multiplied here. Now the closer you get to 0.01, the more red the image will be, and the more natural in the nebula colors it will be. The closer you get to about 0.5, you're going to be in your oranges, and the closer you get to almost 1, those are going to be more of your yellows. This equation was shared by John Renaud, another astrophotographer who I follow on Astroman, and he was very kind to share this equation and how he went about doing his bicolor imaging. So once we've typed in all our equations, we're going to hit OK. And you can see here that they are HA for our red, our synthetic green, and our O3. Now, in order for this to work, one image has to be open, as far as if you try to hit the execute button, it will say, give you that error. So just go ahead and have one open, but we're not replacing target image. We are creating a new image. So let's go ahead and hit execute there. Let's see why I didn't do that. You have to click on it. Alright, let's think it's the square button that we have to hit. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to minimize the pixel math here and minimize our O3, and let's check out and see what this did for us. I'm going to let it do an auto stretch of what it thinks it can look like, and you can see a good starting point here is the nice reds with the blues. Has a little bit of hint of green, but that's something that we can easily fix with the SCNR tool. So what I'm going to do is open my histogram transformation. This is image 103. We're going to click it there, and I like what our auto stretch did, so we're going to just copy it down here. We're going to reset that image and actually hit the execute button there. Alright, and so it's performed the auto stretch there based on what the histogram will look like there. Now, if we zoom in a little bit closer, like I said, it has a hint of green in it, but we can easily hit our SCNR tool and eliminate the green, drop it over, and you'll see it change to a more neutral or less green kind of color. Alright, so you can see that there. It definitely has removed the green that I was not too pleased with. And now what we're going to do is stretch this image a little bit and add some saturation to it. Now, based on your data, you could have real nice clean data, or you can have not so nice clean data. But this portion, the RGB image that we're working here won't matter because we're going to apply a luminance layer later on, so don't worry too much about noise reduction and whatnot. So I'm going to extract the luminance layer so that I am able to do a mask stretch. So here's our luminance. I'm going to apply the mask. I'm going to minimize this and keep it down over here, and I'm going to say masks and mask, show mask. There we go. So that still has the mask applied, but we can see actually what's going on. We're going to use our curves transformation, and we're going to open the active preview. Now I'm going to do a stretch of both the all three RGB channels, and you can see how the image is coming a little bit more to life there. I'm going to keep the darks a little bit dark, and I am going to tail this off so that the whites don't get all blown out. And we're going to do the same for our saturation. Now you can keep this looking with the green and the blues. For me, I have found that if I actually also stretch some of the red, it gives it a little bit more red to the overall image. And even if you, let's say, also do a little bit of the blue, you get a little bit more, instead of a red, more of a pinkish blue color hue to it. So let's go ahead and execute that. And you can do, you can mess around with the curves here to generate any kind of variation on the colors that you really like. Alright, and I'm going to close that. And I'm going to close that here. Now, Um, what I'm going to do now is we really like our hydrogen alpha data. Usually it's really nice and clean. It has lots of detail. So what I'm going to do is just make a clone of this so that I can keep my data and the original ones there. And I'm going to apply that screen transfer function to this one. And that way we have our hydrogen alpha for our luminance. And we're going to close that. And before I apply my luminance, I'm going to do a convolution, and I'll reset it here so that you can see where you usually start. And I'm going to go ahead and basically what this does is just blur the image so that any chromatic noise that you have kind of gets smooth and basically eliminated there. And actually you want to make sure, I'm going to undo this and mask and just disable the mask. If not, it's not going to do the full effect there. Alright, and I'll minimize that so you can see how it's kind of blurry, but it's going to be real nice and clean. Then we're going to get our LRGB, and we're going to use that clone that we did and hit OK. And I'll just reset it so that you can see. Essentially, resetting it, you're going to unclick the RGB, and then choose the luminance that you want to apply. And we're going to reduce chromatic noise. And let's go ahead and apply our actual luminance, the hydrogen alpha luminance there. And depending on how fast your computer is or whatnot, this may run a little bit faster. Sometimes my computer slows down for whatever reason and it just ends up doing it a little bit slower. I'm going to just pause. Okay, so we are back, and you can see that the luminance has been applied. Now the image is not as bright, but you know, we are using the hydrogen alpha data, which gives us nice small stars. And what we're going to do is now use that same hydrogen alpha data as a mask there. And since I have the mask disabled, we're going to go ahead and enable the mask now. And what we're going to do here is go back and restretch this to the way we like it. And we can stretch it as much as we want or as little as we want. But essentially, just get in there and play around with the curves, with the saturation, and see what you get. If you don't like too much of the blue, we had initially bumped up the blue, but you can go ahead and kind of lower it again. And again, it all depends on what you like and what you want in that final image and what you want those colors to be. And I'm going to just leave it how it was originally there. So let's go ahead and hit the execute button. I'm going to close there. And pretty much this image is done. If you end up getting uh, these halos around your stars, you can easily make a mask. Where are you? There you are. And we're gonna make a star mask. Now I will just reset this, and usually the noise threshold I'll put around somewhere on 5. You just gotta have to play around with this so that you get to find a star mask that really works for you there. Now the scale, the higher you increase this, the more it will start to protect larger structures like larger stars. Um, and the structure growth means how much more of that star is it going to protect. So large scale structures like larger stars, and then small scale structures and compensation, um, it will just increase the growth there. So um, I'm going to start with, let's say, um, somewhere around 7, and see what this does here. And I'm going to go ahead and pause this because this is going to take a little bit on my computer here. Okay, so we're back here. This is the star mask that it has created for us here. And so let's go ahead and apply the mask and see what it does. Now, if you were to desaturate, if you wanted to desaturate those stars, you could use the curves and on the saturation, desaturate it like that, but that may desaturate all the other stars. Sometimes you get some yellow stars there that you might want to keep, so I will just do the color saturation tool and try to eliminate the color that I particularly don't want on those stars. So I'll just put some locking anchor points here, and we can see on here, if we bump up this saturation, you will start to see the blue in all those stars. So let's go ahead and put a couple points here and drop the saturation there. And let's see what it does. You can see it kind of subtly, if I go back and forth, I can see a little bit of subtle change. It didn't do quite as much as I wanted to, and that's mainly because the star mask that I'm using looks like it was not aggressive enough. So if we look at our star mask here, you can see that a lot of it is not very fully white, so it's not applying that in a manner that we want. So you can either do a new mask, or you can not under saturation, under this, the RGB, you can line that up so that it's a little bit more aggressive. So let's try that. And let's apply it here and minimize it, and let's see what our color saturation does. I'll just reset it for, place those locking points, and then if I really jump it up, and if we really take down the blues, let's see if that does anything for us. let's undo. You can definitely see over here how we definitely lose those blue halos around there. So kind of just something that you can work with and try to perfect that star mask. I will usually take my time and make trial and error, make that mask perfect. But for this purposes, we're just showing you. I don't know why I pressed that button. For this purposes, we're just showing you kind of how to process this bicolor image. Now, we have our final image here. One last thing that you can do to enhance this. Again, disable the mask. We're going to go to scripts. Under utilities, there's a dark structure enhance. This is going to really kind of enhance all the little dark lanes and dark structures that you have going on in your image to really bring some of those other details out. I'm going to pause it right here. Alrighty, so that has finished up, and we will hit the back button, and you can see just where our dark dust lanes really got brought out. So this is your more kind of red and blue image. Just for example purposes, let's go ahead and open Pixel Math again, and let's change this in this equation. Once you have the equations here, you can directly alter these numbers. Now, the 0.5 is what I use, and this gives me that orange and blue coloration that I've been getting in my images. So I'll minimize that. Let's put this over here, and we're gonna quickly kind of run through everything that we did just so that we can see what those colors are like. So again, we have our oranges and blues there. We are going to copy this onto here, reset it, and apply it. I'm going to eliminate any kind of green tones to this. And I'm going to apply that same luminance mask here. I'm going to minimize it, mask, show mask, and let's do the same stretches with our RGB. And this is so that we can have a look along there. And let's go back and kind of drop this a little bit. Tone that over there. Now again, I've been doing a little bit more of the red in there. That gives the more and you can see what a drastic change that can get. It can go from orange and kind of blue to a kind of in between, and if you do it just very subtly there, you still can retain some of the blues, but you get some of this whitish that transitions into like an orange gold there. So I will like that, and let's apply that. And again, different combinations will give you different colors, and also different colors in your stars. So once this is done, we'll kind of flock over to our image here. You can see we have some blue and there should be some yellow stars. There's a yellow star there, so real nice, just yellow and blue stars. So let's go ahead and disable that. We are getting ready to apply our luminance layer, so let's blur that out to eliminate any kind of noise. And let's go ahead and do our LRGB combination using our hydrogen alpha data. So I'm going to pause it. Okay, so the luminance was applied, and I'm going to minimize that, and then use the same hydrogen alpha data as our mask. Go back to the curves, and let's bump this up and get some more color. And now you can see how things are not being applied in a mask stretch, and that's because if I go ahead and close this out, you can see that my mask, I forgot to enable it. So just make sure you're enabling and disabling, and you can see mask, disable, enable, and kind of what that difference does. And so again, I'll kind of play around here with what I want this to look like. And we can add some more saturation to give it that nice gold and blue. If you wanted to play around with some of the red, see what it does, you know, if we eliminate the red, or if we bump it up just a little bit, you can kind of add more red to it. So at this point, it's pretty much all personal taste and personal preference, so I'll just leave it like that. Alright, and we have our image there, which we'll close out, and I'll just run the script here. Not color mask, dark structure enhance. Hit OK. This one may take a little bit long. Again, my computer's running slow today, so it's just taking its sweet time to make this script run all the way through. Alright, so when you get this error, essentially you have a mask on there and it can't do it. So make sure you disable the mask. I'm going to run that script again. Dark structure enhance. Hit OK. I'm gonna pause it here because it took quite a while, so I'll be back when that's done. Okay, so it has completed that, and again you can go back and forward and kind of see that there. And so again, this is the same data processed essentially in the same manner, but with a different synthetic channel, and you can see all the variations you can do, and you can just sit here all day and make all different kind of colors with your images here, and just have fun with it. So just play around with that equation and see what you get, and hopefully you're able to take a couple points from this tutorial and apply this to some of your images. I hope you enjoy. Have a nice one.